Good evening and welcome, everybody. Share your screen with your audience. Hit the button. Can you see me? Just give me a yes or no. That's what it just said on my computer. Share my screen. Why do I want to share my screen? I'm sharing my camera. I don't know. I just thank God. Oh my God, Tracy Dodds is first in the house. Was Julian? Have I made Julian sick or something? Christopher, second in the house. Good evening, Tracy. First in the house and everyone. Good evening, Leanne, Abigail French, Peter Piper, Steve Pace, Tim Weston, Adam Hudson, Fraser Hind. It's unbelievable, isn't it? If you think about it, it's unbelievable. Anyway, I shared something that was written a few years ago. It came up on my memory, not on my memory bank, but on my phone, and it was the disconnected. It was about the triumph of the robotic gun dog. The robotic gun dog. Should we talk about that subject, or should we not talk about that subject? I don't know what I'm doing today. I don't know. Sue, my eyes have gone funny. Why have my eyes gone funny? I'm looking at the screen. I look all funny, Sue. Look, my eyes look closed. Can you see my eyes? They're closed. Hello. I don't know what the freaking hell's going on here. Anyway, stop looking at yourself, Chris. Get on with what you're talking about. I don't sometimes look at myself in the mirror. Anyway, I thought there were some absolutely brilliant points about it. Today, many judges' interpretation of these rules nullifies their intention. To understand how this has evolved, one must look at the changes in field trials and their influence on breed development. Originally, field trial rules were written by many a Gundog breeder who were members of the Kennel Club for judges and good knowledge of shooting and in the working gun field. Right? I know it's a bit lengthy, but I suggest you read it. I suggest you read it because it gives you true insight. Good evening, Gary. It gives you true insight into what I had to go through. The way they'd manipulated trialing with Spaniels and Labradors down in the West Country. Now you could say, well, why is it any different up country? Well, you have got rabbits in certain parts of the country, and you have got walked up shooting in certain parts of the country where a Spaniel trial is walked up, but Labrador trials are driven, and so it's like being on a picking up day. But it's not a picking up day because they don't want a dog that thinks for itself and uses its brain. They want a robot. They want a dog that goes straight down straight lines and doesn't come off a straight line until told. And really, wherever you point, it's a missile. It just goes out and picks it. So without being sort of too corrosive out on the public arena, because I will be shot at. Trust me, I will be shot at. I believe that a good quality gun dog that is what you could call a trial dog should be a quality gun dog first and foremost. A good quality working gun dog, right? You've got Crufts if you want to show a dog off for its physique, and half of them don't look like proper gun dogs, do they? But at the end of the day, what do we want? Majority of people in our group are not trial people. We've got a few people who've trialed, but they've had their eyes open. They've been informed of what it's really like out there. I don't know. It's I'm trying to get my head around it. I think to myself, perhaps I shouldn't go down that road of not rubbish in trialing, but explaining to people out there that trialing isn't the be all and end all of dog work. The be all and end all of dog work for me was working dogs in the field. Trialing was a shop window. That's what it used to be. Trialing used to just be showing the standard of your work and whether you could compete with the top people. That was more of my aim when I was trialing. I wanted to show that I could train dogs to a very high standard. And it's so easy to rubbish somebody who says, I'm not interested in trialing. Yeah, but you wouldn't stand a chance if you did. That's a load of rubbish. I know plenty of good dog people who would make good trialing people as long as they can keep their nerve together, as long as they can. Steve Morton, good evening to you, sir. Good evening to you. I tell you, I'm feeling a bit giddy. I was feeling a little bit giddy. I keep looking at myself on the screen thinking, freaking hell, why is your eyes looking funny? And I keep looking at different things on the computer as well as the writing on the phone. I'm thinking, are my eyes funny because of that? Perhaps I'm just freaking cracking up. Perhaps that's what's happening. Anyway, what's the good thing today? What's the good thing on telly? Venus and Serena Williams' story about her dad and them. Absolutely excellent. Absolutely dedication to the T. Talk about determination. Unbelievable. Talk about aiming for a goal and going for it. It was unbelievable. With all the trialing and tests, always the same people that get the awards. Yeah, but that's another good question, Leanne, because at the end of the day, is it because they're so good? Is it because they're of a different level? When I was running in competition, if I wasn't in the top 3, I was very, very disappointed because I set myself a high goal. I set myself, and sometimes you set yourself up for failure if you're not careful, if you aim high. But it depends how determined you are and how driven you are. And when I was running competition, I was running all over the country, training dogs. I was going to Scotland on a regular basis to get them on the rabbit. I was putting those dogs under every extreme I could and make sure I got the training right. Because if I couldn't stop them on the rabbits or I couldn't stop them on birds every time I asked them, I get in the beating line. I work those dogs in the beating line. And what makes me so, I wouldn't say big-headed and proud of myself, but yeah, I am proud of myself for what I aimed for. I didn't aim specifically for a trial dog. All my dogs worked in the field. So if I was successful back then with dogs that worked in the field, why have you got people now not working in the field? Why have you got people now judging who've not shot over dogs? They haven't got a clue about actually shooting over dogs. You're being judged by these people. Why should you want to be judged and travel a long distance and pay a lot of money, especially with the politics of the game and the corruption as well? Why would you be wanting to run under judges that have been picked by the film stars so they could get the win? Because they don't have an idea of what they're doing, and they wouldn't get picked unless they were in those certain gangs up and down the country. And some people judge on merit, and they deserve to be judged on merit, and other people judge because it's what favors they can do for others. And that's the important thing. In reality, perhaps you've got to listen to somebody who's done it and been there and hasn't got his finger in any pies that he has to toe the line, if you know what I mean. Because I don't believe that getting into a group is good for people in general, because you're in your little group, everyone looking after each other. You can't be a freelance. You can't step out of that group because you'll be nibbled by another group that all look after themselves. And yet you should be able to win on merit, shouldn't you? You should be able to win if you turn up with a good dog and it's better than everybody else on the day. Are there many of the trial dogs that could actually do a day's work in the field? I think there is, Steve. I think there is. But the people have got onto a system of working that if you keep the dog really tight, They'll shoot a bird nice and close for you on average. And on those grounds, you don't want a dog that thinks for itself. So that dog could be trained just to win competition, but not be a real thinking dog. And I like a game finder. I like a real thinking dog. I like a dog that wants to on hard. If you can control it, that's the polish. That's the added requirement that I want, that control, as well as that extra drive. I'm not looking for the average dog on the day to finish the day. Oh, it was easy to shoot over. It was a comfortable run. I'm looking for that gladiator. And in that article, people who are in the group who've read that article, if you read it, it's in depth, and they say some brilliant things in there. And they talk about years ago, people used to breed for trialing dogs and breed for the quality shooting dog. So it used to be, when it all first started, it was what we want to do, get people together who can train dogs to a good standard and run a competition against each other, dogs in the field. And then all of a sudden, it started to drift off. It started to drift off, and it started to go its own way. And if you're not in it, you can't win it. But you've got to play their game. You've got to give them what they want. And judges haven't got the experience of shooting over dogs and understanding what is a good shot, where it's nice to take a bird from rather than, blow it to smithereens in front of you. I've seen judges asking the guns to shoot birds quicker because the trialing people are complaining. Well, it's down to the judge. It's not down to the trialing people. But the problem is, you get Mr. Film Star, goes to a trial, up gets a bird, and the gun lets it go and then kills it. And now he's got a 30-yard retrieve, right? He's going to give you the same when you come to his trial. He may even give you another 20 yards further because he's going to think you didn't do him a favor. What they want is they want the bird to be dropped as soon as it gets up. I've seen it for years on year on year on the championship videos, when I'm out, when I've been shooting at trial, when I've been running at trials. Sometimes you think, what was the point of dropping that bird that close to that dog? And why take a bird that's what we call a volunteer bird? If you've got plenty of game, why don't you wait until the dog actually has a contact flush? Because we're looking to test the dogs. So some people will have that contact flush and get marked up for it because they've got a contact flush, and other people will have a volunteer bird that's well away from the guns, that's well away from the hunting, really, because the bird has volunteered itself well ahead, and they'll shoot at it. But they won't do that for a film star. They'll do it for a novice person or somebody coming who's not sort of up there with the film stars. Now, as soon as I start talking about that, it upsets probably 30% in the trial world. But it's the truth. But they don't like the truth. They're not looking for the truth. They're looking for the win. And so it's, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Now, where are the other trainers out there talking about that? Where are they talking about that? That article was well written, and it's in our group for people to read. Like I say, I put it up on Facebook ages ago, and it came up on memory, and I thought I'll put it out in the group for people to see, because we've got, like I say, a few people in this group that want to trial, but we've got other people in the group who are trialing who perhaps aren't being very successful. And what you've got to do, you've got to ask yourself, why? Why aren't you being successful? Why aren't you in the awards on a regular basis? If you're, some people will travel and do 2 or 3 trials a month. It works out quite expensive. You put all that time into that dog, you're not in the awards, but you're hanging around with film stars. It makes you feel good. At the end of the day, it didn't bother me who was running on the card. The bigger the film star, the more I got a buzz from it by beating them. Some of the PD files of birds being shot Paul French videos of birds being shot and the retrieve is really close. That's not really testing the dog true quality. It's like puppy retrieves. Yeah, you're right, Steve. You're right. But the problem is, what they're trying to do is give everybody roughly the same. So you've got guns like dogmen, real dogmen who shoot over dogs on a regular basis. Those guys can let a bird go and still knock it down with confidence. But if you've got people who've never shot over a dog, they're not even reading the dog. A good gun is following the dog and watching the dog. It's not watching ahead of it. It's not looking for birds taking off ahead of it. They're looking for a bird on the end of that dog's nose. And at the end of the day, you get credited for a contact flush. You're looking for a contact flush in a trial. But the amount of trials ruined where a bird gets 30 foot from the dog and the gun on the other side shoots it and shout, "That's your bird." Well, sometimes that's not really fair on the dog, especially down in Cornwall where we've got lots of woods and they might not even have seen that bird take off. They heard the shot, but two guns might have shot at it, and you get that echo through the woods and you don't know. You're like, the judge goes, "Where's that bird? Have you got a mark on that bird?" And you think, hang on, that's not giving the dog a chance compared to that guy who had one under the nose, the dog. Now, it's not a fair playing field all the time. You have to accept that. Sunday luck takes a big part in it. But trust me, you'll be amazed how many film stars will only get a bird if it's off the dog's nose or it's a nice simple retrieve, because they don't want to put them out. If they went out on a difficult retrieve, it's like, well, okay, then wait till you come onto our trial. I'm going to do the same for you. And yet, it's only human nature. Give me a simple bird, and I'll give you a simple bird. And yet, it should be a fair playing field for everybody. That's what it should be. Any questions? Is there anything anyone would like to talk about tonight? Is there anything anyone would like to talk about? Anyone would like to talk about the politics of trialing? The politics of running your dog in different parts of the country? Do you go to some parts of the country and they look after their own? Yes, they do. That's human nature, isn't it? Where there's a way, there's a will. It's a bit like match fixing in other sports. It is. And the problem is, you travel all that way with a good dog and you have a fantastic run and you have birds off the nose of the dog. You don't have to handle your dog once because it's straight out, straight back. Because that's exactly what that write-up says. It says they're not looking for dogs with natural ability. They're looking for robots. They've turned them into robots. And any dog can hunt from gun to gun, gun to gun, gun to gun. If you train them to do that, and you train them that everything's going to be found close, they're going to stay in close. You know what it's like on a shoot. You let your dog open up a little bit and start using its brain. It's going to find more birds. You're going to have to rein it in at the end of the season just to tidy up, aren't you? And that's what they're worried about. Like I said to you before, I've been to trials judging, and I'm watching a dog thinking, it's mediocre. It's not brilliant. It's under a film star. And they pull it up. Go, what are you doing? It's pulling me. It's what? It's pulling me. It's taking in too much ground. It's all around their feet. Taking in too much ground? Surely you just keep running the dog till the judge says, "Sorry, mate, the dog's taking in too much ground." A dog that's opening up, that finds game, shouldn't be penalised. It should be credited. As long as it's not missing ground or missing game. But they don't want that. You go to some trials and it all depends on potluck, isn't it? What judge have you got? How has he been educated? Has he been educated by a certain film star that likes them right round your feet all the time? Or what are the old school? Now, the old school used to like an hunting dog, a dog that would get out there and hunt. And I'm about the only one out there on the internet who talks we've had 1 or 2 people come in lately and talk about old school and what old school used to like, a real hunting dog that would take in ground. That doesn't mean hunting out of gunshot. That's a different thing again. But a dog that can open up and got drive and it can think for itself, it's using its nose. It's not what we call handler reliant. But the problem is, if you want to win, you've got to give the judges what they want. But if you don't know the judges and you don't know what the judges like, you're at a disadvantage. And that's exactly the same as any sport, isn't it? If it's boxing and they like that particular sort of style of aggression, or do they like that boxer who's classy and cover up but can still punch? Sometimes he's not the aggressor, but he's a more skilled boxer. And that's the problem with the trial world. And I thought the article was wonderful. It just brought back so many memories. And what they said, I just thought was so true. Has anybody experienced trialing? Does anybody want to talk about trialing? Graham Hansen, what about the terrain? Grouse Moor, West Country, Wood Valleys, flat bears suit different dogs. Yep, that should suit different dogs, isn't it? And it tends to, Graham. That's why if you want to be running dogs in competition and being serious, you've got to get out there and train them in different counties. You have to put them under that experience. And like I say, a good rabbit dog do fantastic in Yorkshire, fantastic in Scotland. It doesn't mean a good rabbit dog can come down here and do really well. I can tell you a guy I know very well, known for 30 years at least, maybe 40. Yeah, maybe 40. And he went and bought a top dog from Scotland, but it was no good down here. It wouldn't hit the cover. It was great in white grass, but it wouldn't hit the cover. That doesn't mean Scotland haven't got cover, but a lot of the Scottish woods are absolutely littered with holes in certain areas, and your dog would break break a leg in some of the woods. There's that many holes where rabbits have been. Now, perhaps the rabbits are perhaps more scarce than they used to be, but I can take you to places in Dumfries so you wouldn't even hunt your dog because of the holes made by rabbits, the damage they've done to the woods, and you wouldn't even hunt your dog. Everything outdoors, I'm enjoying listening to you speaking about a lot of things you're saying are absolutely spot on, and I don't like dogs running around my feet. Yeah, I agree, Barry. I agree. So you're going to get knocked, like Barry's just said. Some judges want a dog around their feet. They don't want it anywhere else other than around your feet. So unless you've got that knowledge of what judges like how you watch the judges run their dogs, and if they've got a dog around their feet, you don't want to be even going near them judges. So you could go, well, hang on, let's forget about the cheating. Let's forget about the corruption. Let's just look at the opinions of the judge. If you've got a dog that opens up and is a real hunting machine, that can frighten the shit out of some of them judges. And so they just don't understand the quality of that dog. And so they would say that dog was pulling you. Well, the dog wasn't pulling. The dog was working the wind. Or how do you know if you don't know how to work a dog into the wind or a crosswind or a backwind? You know, all those things matter. But it all comes together with the skill set of shooting over them. And I don't believe that anybody should judge a trial if they haven't shot over their dog. They are lacking a really important part of the knowledge. Now, let's ask that question to everybody here. Do you agree with that? Do you think that a judge should really, if he or she is judging a trial, they should have really had the skill set of shooting over dogs? Yes or no? Let's see who agrees. No one's going to shoot you. No one's going to shoot you if you say no. No one's going to shoot you if you say no. You can disagree with me. You can say, no, Chris, I totally disagree. You should be able to judge a trial with indoors. No. Oh, outdoors. Everything outdoors. No. So Barry thinks you should be able to a judge should be able to judge you with no shooting experience. No shooting experience. Do they take into account how the guns are performing for the dogs? So sometimes the judges will tell the guns what they want, but I think a good gun makes a trial. A good set of guns make a trial. Why? Especially if they're gun dog trainers or keepers who shoot over birds on a regular basis in that situation. If you're a high bird shooter, that's a skill set in itself, but I don't say that is the asset that you need to be able to shoot over spaniels and know where to kill, the killing point, how far is sensible to take a shot without damaging game going on, missing game, just clipping game. So I think that it's important. Do they take into account the guns are performing for the dogs? I've seen many good high bird shooter, a standing gun, absolutely useless at taking birds on a walked up day, because it's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of shooting. If it makes sense, folk are out rabbiting or on birds training for trials 3 times a week. Some don't want to shoot. They just want to train their dogs. Yeah. So, okay, let's look at that again, Barry, shall we? If that makes sense, folk out there rabbiting or on birds training for trials, yeah. Nothing wrong with training for trials. Nothing wrong with other people shooting over your dog, right? Some don't want to shoot, not a problem with that. They just want to train the dogs. I think it's a great idea if you've got 2 guns either side of you who can shoot, right? And you can train them in that scenario as a trial. That's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about judging. I'm not talking about, you can say, well, okay, it doesn't matter, because as long as you win a trial or a number of trials, technically you should be asked to whether you'd like to judge. Well, I think it's really important, because if you've got driven guns and you've got Labradors out the back, and all you're going to do is at the end of the drive, when the guns move off to the next drive, you're going to be asked to go and pick those birds in a straight line. You don't really need a picking up dog, do you? You don't really need a dog that works on the shoot doing that, because you want the dog to mark on the shoot, don't you? But if you're just going to sweep up at the end of the drive, when the guns move on, you're going to stay there with the judges, and the judges want you to run straight lines backwards and forwards and not come off those lines, then it's not important that you've got a dog that marks. But if you're a spaniel trial person and your dog punches a bird out, sits up sharp, watches it away, marking ability is really important, isn't it? And it's really important if you're shooting over them, because if you're working your dog on rabbits on a moor and your dog is watching those rabbits away, let's ask Barry. Barry's from Scotland. Do the judges, Barry, want the dog to put the nose down and take the line out to the rabbit? Or do the judges want the dog just to run out there and pick the rabbit? Because it may have changed, but years ago, up in Scotland, up in Yorkshire, a rabbit dog was supposed to take a line, show where the rabbit went to the fall with its nose, not run out to it with a head up. But down here, marking ability, gun sense plays a massive part. To judge a competition, you should be able to understand what you're judging, having done it yourself. Exactly, Graham. I agree. Definitely driven bird shooters should definitely be shoot differently to walked up guns. Yeah, exactly, Michael. But the problem is, what they want at a lot of trials, they want a free day. They don't really want to pay for it. And so guns sometimes will compensate that and pay for the day when they're shooting. So sometimes well-off guns think, oh yeah, I'm gonna volunteer to shoot at a trial, and some of the trial secretaries will take those people because they're going to pay for the day. Well, I've seen trials like that become a disaster, and yet I've seen trials with proper dogmen who shoot over their dogs, who train their dogs on a regular basis themselves, who school their dogs by shooting over them, shoot at trials, and are excellent shots, and they've got a good killing percentage. There's a completely different thing to being a quick shooter, to being a shooter that stands on a drive waiting for birds to come over you and giving them lead and all that. At the end of the day, when you're trialing, even when you're letting birds go more than the average trial person who's shooting at a trial does, you're normally shooting at the bird, not above it or below it as it's stopping. You're not doing that. You're shooting at the target, but it's quick shooting, and there's a skill in that in itself with safety. Safety has to be paramount, and there's a skill in itself. And I think that it's like saying, I'm a swimming coach, but I've never been swimming, but I've watched it. I don't think everything outdoors. I keep saying everything outdoors. In my experience, they just want the rabbit back to hand as quickly as possible. No, disagree. A good judge would hopefully credit you for the dog taking the line. Problem is, a lot of judges don't train on rabbits. I agree with you there. I agree with you there. But the whole point of it is, Barry, it's good for people to discuss. It doesn't mean we have to agree. But I have had the experience of shooting over dogs on rabbits with top judges, top dogmen, who will tell you exactly what I've told you. But at the end of the day, to me, I agree with Barry to a certain extent. I just want the thing back in the bag. And for me to watch a dog take a line all the way out to a rabbit when it's actually flushed it, sat up, watched it away, it's been shot at a distance, send the dog, and the dog lifts its head and runs straight to the fall, picks it, I think that's a good dog. There you go. I agree with you, Barry. In Scotland, they would, but in Yorkshire, they might. In Cornwall, they wouldn't. They'd be looking for the dog that's using its brain in a spaniel trial, right? Not talking about Labradors, because down here it's completely different to a walk-up day. But I think it's really important that you have that understanding as well, that in different parts of the country, some judges may be looking for something slightly different again. So down in Cornwall, we got a lot of woods, very steep woods. When a bird gets up on a steep wood, if it's going out across, and you're at the top of the wood and it's going out across the wood into the valley, and you shoot it, you might only shoot it 20 foot out, but that bird might be 60 yards down the valley. You've got to send the dog. So what you want to do in reality is you want to shoot that bird so the dog sees that bird shot and the trajectory of the bird where it falls. Then the dog has to get down there and use its own brain, right? It has to get down there and work it out. Ben Eastman, hello, love your videos. Just a quick question. If I send my lab out to retrieve a bird and she noses it and looks at you, what should I do? What is it? Is that saying noses it, Sue? He noses it. Hello, love your videos. Got that bit. Just a quick question. If I send my lab out to retrieve a bird, and she noses it and looks at you, what should I do? I would just say, get out. Get out if she's looking at you. Because if she's nosed it and she knows where it is, you send her for a retrieve, you don't really want her looking back at you once you've sent her for a retrieve. If she does, just say, get on, get out, just encourage her. Sometimes we could class that as sticky. If a dog doesn't go out to the full, it's like a lack of confidence sometimes. Am I doing right? So that might be the reason for that. But that's if that's the question you're asking. That's if you the question you're asking. So the other thing is, I put up in the group, I put part of the telephone conversation up for the group for you to listen to. And I was talking to you in the group a few months ago, telling you that I get so many people ring me up who want to ask me a question, or they politely ask me in Messenger. They come in and ask me in Messenger. Sometimes it's that long. Sometimes the question's that long. If it's a quick question, I answer it. But I can't answer everything. Because I'm a one-man band, I can't answer everything. But I was talking about happy medium. I think he means.
He took it away. Ben said yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Like I say, people ring me up. An old Australian bloke, old Gundog bloke, really nice chap, told me years and years ago, best thing you can do when they phone you up and start telling you their life story about what the dog's doing wrong, and you've never seen the dog and you've never met the person. He said, it's a bit awkward sometimes. He said, so I just say, hang on, just let me grab my diary and see if I can fit you in. And I think that is so important to people up and coming who want to be dog trainers. It's so easy to get into conversation for hours on end with somebody regarding what their dog's doing wrong. And it's so easy to have the confidence or the lack of knowledge to give them advice without seeing the dog. It's so much easier when you see the dog and you see the person, because one person's standard of training in their eyes may be good. I don't know if that's always the best thing to do on the phone. Yet sometimes you get somebody on the phone and they're quite entertaining, whether they're entertaining in the fact that they're just waffling on and on and on and on and on, and you think, bloody hell, why don't you just stop and listen? But you let them waffle on, because the more they waffle on, the more they tell you. And I'm a people person, and I believe that if you're courteous to people, people will call back. And I think that business is business. We want business, but I'm not going to go out of my way to be nice to you or feed you what you want to be told, just to gain your business. And I think that it's important. There's a balance. So if you're going to ring somebody up, I want you people to give me a sort of time scale before you start thinking, hang on, I perhaps need to ask this guy, would you like to book you in for a lesson? Or girl, would you like to book me in for a lesson? Or do you think that it's an open book and somebody should be able to talk to you for hours and hours on end? Leanne Vine, can I ask you a quick question, Chris? What's your advice about stud dogs? Someone has come to me and wants to use my dog. Do you just charge a stud fee on the day or mating, or price of a puppy when sold? Leanne, you've got to be a little bit careful there, because if you don't know the person and they come and have a stud for you, what happens if they say they didn't have any pups? It has happened before. But in reality, if you know the person, the price of a stud sometimes, I don't think, is the price of a puppy. But some people do charge full price of a pup for a stud. I've never been overly expensive for having a squirt off one of my dogs. And if you have 9 pups, then good on you. But you might only have 2. You might not have any. But when it comes to that, I've always thought to myself, well, this is a set price. That's what I ask for me stud fee. But I've never asked the price of a pup for my stud fee myself. If you have, I like to mate twice. So if I'm going to mate, if they lock on for a reasonable amount of time, then you pay your money. Then you can come back, I would say not the following day, but a day after that, and have another mating to make sure you get yourself in that window. So I let them have 2 matings for the price of the stud fee or a pup. So as soon as they mate and lock on, technically the dog's done its job. And so that's when the payment should be paid, not if they have pups. But each to their own. Each to their own. Good question, but each to their own. Enjoyed this, listening to you tonight, Chris. I'll catch you later. Should do a live on the trialing and your stories. Feel you're absolutely amazed. You've a absolutely amazing story to tell. Would love to set a podcast up. If only I could understand you, Barry. Yeah, why not? I don't know very well. Only met the other day. I've kind of said £750 on the day of mating when tied. And yes, 2 mating. My dog is fully health tested and registered. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, I've seen some people asking £1,000 for pups, decent quality pups. If it's the price is down to each individual, isn't it? That's what it's down to. It's down to each individual. I can't set a price. I mean, who am I to set a price? Who am I to say puppies should only be this much? They shouldn't be any more. The prices have gone up. I'm old school. At the end of the day, I've got mates who let me use their dog for nothing. But I've given some people some money at the end of once I've sold the pups and went, hang on, I made a lot on them. There's a drink for you, and give them a good drink. They've really appreciated it. But not given the price of a pup. But it's like mates do favors for mates, don't they? And vice versa. You know, I would do the same for somebody else who was a mate. You know, there's group prices as well, isn't there? If we got people in the group prices. And I'm even cheaper for women. I'm even cheaper. I'd sell myself cheap. I had a pup last time, and that's how I got my second black lab, and now 2, and he's brilliant. Yeah, exactly. I've had pups back before, and they've turned out absolute cracking dogs. It's another thing that write-up came across. It was talking about, you know, people used to run dogs in competition and then breed off them and produce dogs that they won with. Well, I've done that. I've had the fun of doing that, of breeding a winning dog that I won with, that's not my line, but I bought in, a winning bitch that's not my line, I bought in, putting them together and producing winning dog. And I think that's a great achievement. I was listening to the Gypsy King, and they were asking him about his belts, and he says his belts didn't mean nothing to him. Is he bluffing, or do you think he's genuine? Do you think he's bluffing about the belts he's won, the achievement that he's got, the championship belts, or do you think that first novice award that he got, or that first junior title he got, meant more to him than the belts he's got now, because he reckons that's in the past? That's in the past, and he doesn't really want to think about the past. But he actually stated, I wouldn't mind a spaniel one day. You think you have any pups again? I'm not sure, Leanne. I've got a little bitch out there. I'm not sure. I may do, but not sure. But may do. Never say never. I was feeling so much better, but for some reason I'm feeling giddy tonight watching the screen. I'm feeling a little bit giddy. Maybe because I'm tired. Maybe because I'm tired. I was feeling so much better. I have a spaniel for sale. Yeah. He's got a beauty, an absolute beauty, that boy's got. But I'll tell you what, you ain't gonna get that off him. No chance. No chance. I reckon he should sell stud. He should put his stud fees up on that dog. I think his stud fee should be £1,000 per dog. £1,000 per squirt, not per dog. £1,000 per squirt. How about that? What was I saying? Oh, how much? Yeah, just for spaniel as well, not a Labrador. It's blue blood. Yeah. So like I said, I was talking about Tyson Fury, and I thought to myself, I can understand what he's saying to a certain extent. I mean, look, not being funny. Imagine you won the championship, and you were chasing winning the championship for years and years and years. You know, like I dreamt about, running in the championship, being successful in the championship. But as I got older, I looked in a different direction because of the situation out there. I would have been so chuffed if I had. But I would think my biggest achievement was that first award I came back with, thinking, wow, I'm there. I've done it. And then the next one and the next one and the next one was great. But it don't mean half as much to you sometimes as that first little win, that first bit of achievement, to set you on that ladder of success. It'll be trained as well, Leanne. It will be trained to pick up its own lead if it drops it. If you drop it, we're doing that in our group. We're doing that. If a dog drops a lead, we're teaching them to go out and pick it. I may be tempted to, if you do, Chris. But Adam does put me off. Hey, Trace, you would honestly, Trace, it would be like a wet dream if you got a spaniel, because I like a girl who likes a bit of rough. Shut up. Yeah, I do that with mine. Thank God for that, Leanne. I thought so. What does that mean? Leanne, what does that mean? Leanne, what the freaking hell does that mean? They're not very big, are they? Is Tracy Dodds laughing at Leanne's hand gesture, or is she laughing at what I just said? I like a girl who likes a bit of rough. Anyway, any questions? Has anybody got any questions tonight? I mean, I honestly don't know. I keep looking. Leanne Vine, perfect. She's doing it non-stop now. Stop it! What is perfect?
Emoji that she's doing.
All right. Oh, spot on, perfect. Right, I got it now.
Oh, you're so old school.
I'm old school, yeah. I'm just dirty in the mind and dirty in the head. Yeah, there you go. So, I'm not going to tell you. I was going to tell you how much well, spaniels were fetching about 500 quid a piece years and years ago. Weren't being rude this time, just normally. That's what gets me. See, I'm trying to not outrage you, but run with you. Let's see if Sue remembers. So if years ago, when I was selling spaniels at £500 a piece, how much would I charge somebody for a stud when they come here? 200 quid. So puppies 500 quid. That was a reasonable price years and years ago. I charged 200 quid for a stud fee. But that's why I had plenty of people using my dogs. And at the end of the day, I didn't look at it as, oh, I want the price of a pup. It was an added income for your business, isn't it? You know, professional dog trainer. I was talking about in the group about letting older dogs go, and how some people in reality out there on the big wide world web would think that would be heartless, getting rid of a dog at 5 years old, 6 years old. At the end of the day, if you keep your dogs until they die, and you're a professional dog trainer, and you've got a number of dogs, technically you can have a kennel full of old dogs at one point. Itching to scratch, you dirty bastard. I think it's something to do with records, isn't it? Itchy to scratch. Have a scratch, feel free. We don't care, do we? We're not gonna be judgmental on here if you need to have a scratch. Hello, my friend. Hello to you. I used to be a DJ. Yowza, yowza. Yowza, yowza. Oh, scratch cards. Oh, you're selling scratch cards. Not interested, mate. Don't gamble.
That's where mine went, the scratch card.
Oh, you went scratch cards. All I saw was a circle. I thought, oh, he's a DJ. He's scratching. No, scratch cards. Good evening to you. I was a dog groomer. Nice. Did you get arrested? Oh no, that's child groomer, isn't it? Sorry, wrong sort of. Sorry, wrong thought again. I was a dog groomer. I'm glad you didn't say you were a groomer. Anyway, any questions, anybody? Any questions? We need questions. I need the questions to get my mind back on line again, back on the right track, as we say, back on the right track. So, anybody else? Anybody? Any questions? It's 51 minutes. You've got 9 minutes to ask any questions. Yeah, 14, 19 comes with a bag of food and a mop. He would have an easier life. He'd be under less stress, Adam would, if he did get rid of it. I think some people were made for Labradors. I think some people were made for a Labrador. Nice, steady Labrador. Not a boring Labrador. We won't talk about boring Labradors. We'll talk about... Leanne, that is an absolute wonderful question. I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you're caring. You should see the food that I'm eating at the moment. It's all protein, no carbohydrates. Did you say I've lost a pound, Sue?
Yeah.
A pound? A fucking pound? I got on the scales after a week of freaking starving myself. I'd had less than a fucking snail. And I thought, oh, I've lost a pound, Sue, at the beginning of the week.
I've lost more than that.
She's lost more in the background, and she's eating all the shit. She's coming out with biscuits and everything, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm getting dizzy. It might be why I'm dizzy tonight. Lack of freaking food. She's had freaking sweet corn with the freaking lamb pork chops tonight.
Didn't get any butter on it, though.
Oh, here we go. Not happy now. I'm cutting back. I couldn't even have the sweet corn. Did it fall out your pocket? What? Sue thought that was funny, Peter. No, I cut out breakfast yesterday. We went to Exeter. Sue had a day off. We went to Exeter. Got up, nothing to eat. Just me freaking drink acid. Right? I drank my acid, lemon juice. Went to Exeter. What time did we get something to eat? 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock was the first meal of the day. The night before was 6 o'clock. We had a meal. Talk about fasting. Walked all around Exeter. Got some exercise in. Thought to myself, right, get back, check out on the scales, and give yourself 2 oops for well done. You've lost another 3 pound. Lack of sugar and change of diet. That's what that is. It could be, Leon. It could be. You're right. It could be. I'm not going to say. I'm not. You'd all just piss yourself laughing. So he goes in this restaurant. I paid 50 quid for meat, a plate of meat, fucking big big plate of meat. Well, there's two of us. Give us a break. I haven't seen the way she eats. And she sits out there eating it in the restaurant, right? And it's like a great big plate of meat, and we've done it. And then we're going, right, okay, when we get back, we won't have anything to eat. So last night, I had nothing to eat when I came home. I had to sit and watch the most boring freaking game of Plymouth Argyle getting hammered by Leeds in the extra time. Thinking, thank God I didn't go to the match with the pouring rain. And we are on about diets. High stud prices are one of the main reasons. Okay, I'm going to stop about my diet. You're not interested. I think only Leanne was interested, wasn't she? Yeah, I'm sorry, Leanne. I'm sorry. I'm losing the right fat, but I'm gaining muscle. So go on then, Sue. What's the SP?
Well, there's two. I'll read Ben's because.
Hang on, Sue. Ben Eastman. Another question, Chris. My friend shoots over his lab, but when the lab hears a shot or bang far away, it kills her drive. How do you think the lab can come over this? Ben, the best thing to do there is dog's got to get into a chase situation. And when it's chasing flat out, then give the bang. And the dog then realizes the bang is associated with pleasure, not a negative. It could be you fired too close to the dog and made the dog slightly. They fired too close to the dog and made the dog slightly gun shy. You've not done the training in the right way. And some dogs can be a little bit standoffish, and the drive can come down on them, and they can be slightly apprehensive. So, well, if I've got a dog like that, I tend to put it in a rabbit pen and let it chase rabbits, not blow the stop whistle, but fire a shot and let the dog still chase. And it doesn't mean you'll make it unsteady. It means that the dog hears a shot. It's going to be something for me to chase, and so I use it that way. The other one is David Jones, was it?
No, I mean,
I'll just read that, Dave, because she said no. High feed prices are one of the main reasons running has so many. Let's say you scratch my back, I will scratch yours back. Friends, prefix cash. Yeah, money makes money. You're dead right. Pound signs, banknotes. Yeah, dead right. What's the question, Susan?
It's itching to scratch UK. Best way to get a dog to come.
Is it a bitch or dog?
I knew it was double.
It's a double question, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're just asking for that, weren't you? You were asking for that, just asking for a friend. I don't know if you've been serious or you're just testing me. I've never tried it, to be honest. I know if you tried. Ask Wendy. Yeah, you're right, Steve. You should have said, do you use a glove? Do you use a glove? No glove or glove. Only if it's latex. Only if it's latex. Well done, Chris. Got to start somewhere. At least you lost a pound and not gained it. Yeah, thanks, Leanne. Thanks for that, Leanne. I need that encouragement. I do. I need that encouragement. You know, it's falling off some areas and gaining others. Don't know why. No, so I was reading about that, and they said, yeah, it's about the calorie intake. You can cut out breakfast, but you can't have a 50-pound amount of meat on your plate because then it's calories. So today, it's been like a freaking hamster. I've been like a hamster today, and that's why I might be seeing double. That's why every time I move meat, I get freaking dizzy on here because I might be seeing double. I'm just that freaking hungry still. And she's in the background going, you might not be able to have sweet corn because it's got sugar in it, but I can have sweet corn. And here's me looking at apple sauce to put on my freaking pork and going, can I eat this? Has it got too much fucking sugar in it? And she goes, not if you have half a teaspoon instead of half the bottle like you normally do. Who needs friends in the background like my darling wife at the moment when it comes to frigging lack of sugar, mate? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Steve. That's what I'm thinking, lack of sugar. But I've fought the sugar, and I'm doing all right, actually. Because of not having any sugar, and I've never been a real big sugar fan. I just didn't realize how much food carries the stuff you shouldn't be eating. My stomach definitely, although it doesn't look any freaking smaller, but it does in some places, doesn't it? So on my back.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Took the words right out of her mouth. She thinks she's looking meatloaf now. Anyway, so she never seen me on me freaking flat in my back. The light's off normally. Cheeky stud. It's funny how your stomach actually shrinks. So technically, if I've got a great big empty vessel in my stomach and it's getting smaller, technically I wouldn't be losing weight, but I'd be looking thinner. So that might be the reason when I look in the mirror, I just think, you sexy thing. That's Wendy. No, she used a glove. Carb counting, it gets addictive. No, looking at fucking food, Graham, gets addictive. I don't know, Graham, you'll have to tell me, but I've never appreciated food so much in my freaking life. Food tastes beautiful. But I've got to say that coming off the sugars, okay, I've had a drink. It's got a little bit of sugar in it. But coming off the sugar, it's called age, mate. Thank you, Steve. That's really nice of you. And that's it. And then laugh at your own fucking joke. Steve, we're supposed to laugh at your joke.
Who needs enemy with his law?
Yeah, who needs enemies? Yeah. And so what I'm saying is my stomach is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but I may not be losing weight, but I'm actually disappearing. I'm actually disappearing. That's it, yeah. Now you can laugh at his joke. It's called age, mate. And yeah, so there you go. On that note, you've had an hour. Now you can all sod off. Bollocks, thanks for signing in. Thanks for the activity. Next week, I'm not going to be half the man I was this week. Well, half a stone, half a pound, half a pound. Anyway, so before we go, I'd like to mention this. They reckon that you put on weight every year of your age as you get older, don't they? Has anybody heard that before? As you get older, you put on more weight?
Yeah, they say when you turn 40.
When you turn 40, Sue says in the background. Does anybody agree with that? There's 22 of you in here. Have you heard that before?
No, I don't agree with it. I never did. Oh,
God, here we go. You see what I mean? She has to spoil everything in the background, everyone. Bollocks, guys. Yes, Steve, I know what you mean. I can tell you this. 6 years ago, I was 27. 6 years gone on now, I'm still 20 stone. So technically, I've not put on any weight in all those years. I'm still the same weight. If you had a chair and you weighed it, why should that chair change its weight? Right? It shouldn't, should it? Well, same with a fat boy. How do they expect me to get down to 11 stone? 11 stone? Well, I'm 20. We got more people here now, too. They're coming back in. Tonight, we're talking about how to lose weight. No, Leanne. No, it's not, Leanne. Sue doesn't cook. She doesn't cook, Leanne. Chris cooks. Sue throws dishes across the floor. Don't know if any of you saw that. That's what Sue does. She's now demanding a dishwasher. She's not getting one. I'm just going to stop cooking. Good night, all. Chris Upton and Sue signing off. End of tonight's live feed. Hope you enjoyed it. Yes, I did. What?
Might throw the flags across the room.
Oh, yes, you did. Good night, all. Bollocks. Good night.